Everybody, welcome back to week 7 of the LFA. Today we got ID versus Flannel Esports, and we have quite the crazy pairing going on here tonight, Soren, because both of these teams have kind of upset a little bit of expectations, and even more so with the Flannel game the last couple of weeks, where we didn't get to see maybe a lot from them from a actual equal standing, just because of the unfortunate circumstances that happened in that game. But with ID here, we have a team that has a lot to prove for the lack of what a lot of people were thought they were going to be on the standings, right? So,
oh yeah,
this is a game day for them to really show that they are not going to be left alone, because if Flannel comes out winning and swinging tonight, that is going to be a major, I would say major upset, but I would still say it's a little bit of a disappointment for ID fans.
yeah. Flannel are a weird team. Like, they are probably one of the more fun teams to follow. I know Becky has both been enjoying the ride and also has been losing his mind. So I know Flannel has been kind of a crazy roller coaster. They are one of those teams where it constantly feels like they should lose. And like realistically, they probably should lose. They've been going up against some really high caliber teams, even if they're not performing incredibly well. You look at the rosters and go, okay, yeah, like Mitt probably has the upper hand there, or High Alert has the upper hand, but somehow Flannel pull it through, even when they are almost throwing it away in certain circumstances. Thinking back to that absolutely mind-breaking game against High Alert, but they are definitely making the standings interesting. They are overperforming expectations. Meanwhile, ID have been kind of struggling. They did finally play that week 1 game up against Final Boss, in which they did get a very convincing win on one map. I think it was map number 1. Uh, that being said, they still did lose, and the third game was a bit of a blowout. But that's Final Boss we're talking about. That's number 1, or tied number 1 with TD Final Boss. So, like, not too surprising. So this is one of those tipping points where maybe Flannel finally gets brought down to earth a little bit, and ID maybe start getting a little bit of footing under them. Or we could see the chaos continue and Flannel getting another win over another really good side, upping their record to 5-2. While ID now are kind of struggling with the bot side, and a playoffs run becomes a question mark. So either way, the outcome of this series is going to be very chaotic, and I'm here for it. I can't wait.
I love chaotic games, and I want to throw some attention onto these bans from ID. We have triple support bans. Zyra, you can kind of argue that the Zyra jungle, that being meta just this last split, but that is 3 support bans coming out from ID. That right there is a very just telltale sign of just, kind of like how they're feeling for the strength of Flannel's bot side here, right?
Oh, yeah.
3 support bans is not something you see that often. That is I would say, a very rare side. Even when you have these very strong support players across, like, any team, 3 support bans over a possible ADC, jungle, top, or mid in the first rotation it's just not something you see, like, really at all. Flannel have a little bit more of a balanced, I would say, ban with the mid, jungler, and a top laner here. No EDCs or jungler supports. Jinx going to be the first pick here. Not really that much surprising. Answered away by the MF. This is very typical for what you would see here. You pick a very, like, scaling safe laner. You pick a very strong bot side to answer it, to make sure that you can't scale or cannot really do anything in the lane. And then J4 picked up as well. Perfect into the Jinx.
Yeah, honestly. And the thing about ID here is, I mean, we have seen what crazy performances Zendra could do, especially on hook champions. So picking up this Jinx, I do know that, like, a Nautilus here. I know you can also go like an Enchanter, and Lulu is available, but I definitely think I was going to say some type of hook or stun, or just some big CC tank champion would come through. Leona, I think, fits pretty well. I don't know if it's the perfect pairing for Jinx, but Zendrick has just been so clinical on them, so not surprised to see that prio get pushed through. That does also lock in that bot side. The MF, I think, is kind of the perfect response too, because Misfortune is one of those carries, especially on the bot side, where it's very flexible what you could pick with her. She's not like immediately reliant. Like you like technically could have gone like Lucian there, but if they wanted to play a little bit special, they could have, held off on the Nami, but that puts risk of losing the Nami to the Jinx. So it was one of those weird situations, and I think the Misfortune was the perfect pick. It meant that there were still so many different options that they could have gone for in the support, so ID just had to play a little bit more safe. We do see the Trundle pickup. That has been exponentially growing in priority. I think we've seen a Trundle in every series. I think for the last two, I say two because we also saw on Thursday, so it was not a full week of games. So we saw on Thursday, we also saw on the Tuesday. And I think we even saw a game being played with it the week before. I just don't think it was on stream. So this Trundle pickup is definitely gaining a lot of momentum, and it means there's a lot more impact around the map. Very quick to get around, very hard on the ganking. So a lot more impact from the jungler. I'm not surprised to see it come through. As we do see the bans come through, top lane ban focused for a Flannel. Looks like a bit more of a mid lane priority bans for ID.
Yeah, and I kind of like so far what Flannel is going for. They have a very like simple, easy to execute comp so far with the three champions. They have very front to back team fight, wombo combo focused. You got the MF
Yeah.
with the bullet time, Cataclysm with the J4, and the Magnet Storm follow up with Rel. I mean, you have so much lockdown already and already really good engage. Throwing in the Karma as well here. I'm assuming mid lane here.
Yeah, I'd hope so.
Rel is not really a champion that you can flex anywhere anymore since they completely gutted her jungling, so we can't even see like a J4 swap into the support role either. So I'm pretty sure that is going to be a Karma into the mid lane, possibly a top Karma. Who knows? I doubt it,
The
but
flex is
who
there
knows?
at least.
They picked it R4, so it's possible, right? And Aurora is going to be the answer to that. So far, ID. I would say going for a very just typical, simple composition. There's not a lot of wombo. There's not a lot of like synergy in comparison to Flannel, but it is a very like I would say typical front to back Jinx hyperscaling composition here. We'll have to see what they plan on going into this top set, unless maybe they want to throw Trundle into the top and pick their jungler here. But it looks like it is going to be Cho'Gath into this top side here. So we'll see what Flannel has in response for that. They do have the counter pick here. And this is something that I feel like is going to kind of make or break this top side, because obviously ID top Rutledge just really strong player in general.
Yeah.
And whenever he gets a hold of these games, he just completely runs away with it. So Flannel, top side counter. We'll see if they can make it work here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think your point about the bit of a lack of synergy from the ID side, I think that's a Kale pick. Okay. Flannel have decided, okay, we're just gonna wait till late. I mean, the rest of the team composition isn't exactly a late game team comp, but that is a team comp that will hold you over for most of the early to mid. If they can just hold on to the point where this Kale can find their footing and become a champion, that could be very deadly. But I like I was saying, I agree. I definitely think ID, this is a combination of they all have the idea of wanting to be a very front to back composition, but it's not quite as synergistic as Flannel. Like you were saying, that bullet time with the Cataclysm from the J4, as well as the engage from the Rel, it could just find so much value. There's so much synergy there, backed up with the Karma enhance. It's just there's a very clear game plan for Flannel where ID, if they come online and they start operating these champions really effectively, which it seems like these are more comfort pick champions, you would hope that would be the case, they could absolutely individually dominate the server. But there's not a very clear game plan of like this champion plays well with this one and builds off of this and goes into this. I think the clearer road for a win is Flannel's composition, but ID's is one of those comps where it's a very high risk but very high reward situation. The Kale, I think, is going to be the big defining factor, though. If that Kale can't become an actual champion quick enough, or if they don't let the game get long enough for Kale to really come online, it's going to be really hard for Flannel to do much with a roaming Rutledge who's going crazy.
Yeah, I agree. It's also just the ticking time bomb of Kale is such a huge thing to have to worry about. And Kale, although is I would say a bit of a surprise, considering
That's
the
a Karma
comp
top.
here.
That Kale,
Okay,
that Kale
Karma
mid? Is
top.
that a Kale mid then? That's got to be Kale.
I assume so. So we got
Yeah,
Kale
because
going
you.
into the Aurora.
Okay.
That's
Wow, that
I mean that's
changes.
something. I mean that's actually not that bad because Kale pre-6 doesn't have the range. You would think like, oh, once Kale gets 6, range versus melee matchup, Kale should be able to kind of bully out Cho'Gath, but Cho'Gath does have the opportunity to very easily like do a lot of damage out of nowhere. The rupture slows you so much. The silence is annoying, and Kale needs her auto reset off her E to be able to efficiently really do anything. And Karma being this artillery mage, and you throw in the mantra W with the healing, the shielding, and the movement speed, it's very hard for Rutledge to really find an angle against Karma to really do all that much. And go into the mid lane between the Aurora and Kale matchup, Aurora struggles a lot with her cooldowns and her ability to do a lot of damage when it comes to the early game. Enough so where it gives enough time for Kale to hit 6, to be able to get the ranged with her level 6 with her passive, and then at that point it's about an equal lane when it comes to I can just farm up without really any issues here. I got the ultimate for a safety net. And I mean, the only thing that's a little less that kind of sucks in comparison to Karma mid is maybe for the ability to rotate around in some of these like maybe bot side plays they could be doing. I would say Karma might be a
Yeah.
little bit more consistent, but whew, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there's also just a lot more protection. I mean, the fact that Kale's going to be going mid, if there are big engages or if Kale is significantly weak in those early stages, the J4 is going to be around and in that mid area so much more often than they would be up on the top. So there is a lot more of a safety net. It is not nearly as free to kind of engage onto a weak Kale in the mid lane as it would be if they were up on the top side. So that is also something they're going to have to take into account. Yeah, this game just went from some interesting team compositions to a very interesting way to shake out. I don't think either one of us saw that. I'm also expecting ID to be kind of taken back by that. So they're going to have to take a minute as they're getting into the game to really assess how they want to play this. But speaking of that, we are going to send it on over to a quick break. Obviously, you have to let Spectator Delay do its thing. But when we get back, it's going to be game 1 of Flannel versus ID. Don't go anywhere.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We into game number 1 between ID and Flannel Esports. Flannel on the red, ID onto the blue. Let's get into game number 1, into this crazy Kale mid Karma top that we got with Flannel here. 5 points in each side, so nothing crazy gonna start out. That does not really surprise me for Flannel. They have a very interesting level 1 going on here with that Kale into the mid lane, Karma top. So oh my goodness, Soren, this game is really going to be all about if Flannel can just really not allow ID to do anything for like the first 12-15 minutes.
Yeah, this is kind of a timer game. This is one where you're constantly looking at the clock, which is going to be very stressful for ID. I mean, you mentioned it in the draft screen, but there is kind of a ticking clock for ID. They don't mind it getting later because I do have pieces that are going to become very scary late on, but Kale is just such a dominant force late in the game that the earlier they can end the game, the better. If they could stop it before Kale even becomes a real threat, that would be ideal. But at the same time, they have to balance that with the fact that Jinx is going to want to wait till late. Aurora is really going to start coming on much later in the game. So it's this weird balancing act of wanting to finish quick and also needing to get it to go a little bit longer than what they would probably feel comfortable doing so with the Kale in the game. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one and how it shakes out. It also does mean that poor Rutledge is going to be suffering a little bit. This is a range top versus the Cho'Gath, which is not great. Cho'Gath does have some options, especially with the knock-up, the range on that, but it's nowhere near as quick as just the regular Karma attacks. So that is going to be a little rough for this Cho'Gath in the top lane.
Those damn range top laners, man. That's probably Rutledge right now. Level 2 going to go over to ID's bot side. There's Zenith Blade right into the Flame Chompers. Well done by Dilly. Sunset Diner taking a lot of damage. One more auto, not going to be enough. Even with the Ignite, should survive based off one more tick. There he goes. Also has both the potions as well. Level 2 advantage, huge coming out for ID.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a lot of investment, but it does mean that those 2 potions get popped. That means that Sunset Dyna is very weak, very susceptible. That was a very close call from them. So they're going to have to play super, super aggressive, which is exactly what Zendrick and Dilly want to do. They want to keep them uncomfortable in this lane. They already have the advantage. You can see the difference in the waves, too. This is a perfect start if you're ID. Dilly and Zendrick are going to be feeling really comfortable for the next couple minutes.
Yeah, the Ignite was used from Zendrick, so that is going to be down. So the kill threat opportunity does lessen a little bit, but Melee Vein with the cleanse doesn't really have a easy to use combat summoner. Of course, if he gets hit by that stun, he can insta cleanse it, but if he's not the target, that cleanse doesn't really do all that much outside of just sitting there looking pretty. So if they do go back onto Sunset Diner, it practically means they're playing on equal footing when it comes to the sums. Still though, barrier doesn't do more damage. There's a typical pause. Always here. Oh, there we go. We're probably going to get a little bit of a shake-up here in the next few seconds because spectator client. But in general, I would say that this is about, you know, nothing too special going on. We do have Ingrodus looking for something into this bot side here. See if you'll be able to find anything here. There it is. But
yeah,
to be honest, this is good for Flannel for kind of what they want, considering what they drafted. Still, though, ID aren't really getting completely shoved out, especially in the tops. Oh, there's Zenith Blade going to land up there. There's the flag and drag, knock up, double knock up going over. He's trying to get over the wall. Not going to be close enough. First Spud going over to Ingrodus. Patience is a virtue there. Just a little too far up. I actually thought that, oh, hold that thought. ADHD going to go right onto Saint of Aegis. Nice pillar there, but the rupture is not there. It was just used. I'm pretty sure Saint of Aegis might be on that. There's the mantra W I was talking about. That's a lot of damage going out with the shield. ADHD taking a lot of damage, but he needs to go for a reset for his bot side anyway. That is going to be the flash coming out from that top laner, so Rutledge's going to be feeling a little bit more safer.
Yeah, and that is huge. Obviously, Prio being put into two different lanes here from the jungler, but the difference is that Angrotus's gank is successful. That's going to put Flannel into a pretty good position. It gets him a little bit of an advantage in gold, especially towards that bot side. However, J4 also getting that first kill. While it's not ideal, you probably would want it on the MF. It's never a bad thing to have a little bit of extra gold and a little bit more kill pressure on the J4. That's a very scary champion to be putting ahead early.
Something I want to bring attention to, which I'm a little surprised on, is the CS gap into this top side. Zeta Vegas going to be cleared once again. Rupture is going to be there. There's the Glacial Augment. A lot of slows coming out. There's the Silence. ADHD getting the kill credit for that. But yeah, there's actually a pretty big lead going over to Rutledge for that CS gap. And that definitely was not because of that one gank that was thrown on previously. I think Santa Vega is just not finding what he needs to find, maybe for the angles to poke Rutledge out further enough away. I'm not quite sure the reason as to that, but he is down about 20 CS here, so a couple waves. And Flannel bot side feeling a little bit of the pressure right now. Just I really do think the cleanse here was good, but it does make it a little bit harder to just kind of fight if you're not careful, because if you don't use the cleanse perfectly here, it's kind of hard for you to maybe try to find something with a straight up just raw damage because of MF's low base damage and how Love Tap works her passive. Still though, 1-1, ID Flannel, roughly about equal.
Yeah, and there is a storyline here that I honestly completely forgot about until we were talking about the junglers there. This is actually the first game for ADHD for ID. That trade went through, I think, earlier this week. So this is, I think, their first official game on this roster. So that is something to pay attention to. There's obviously always a little bit of growing pains when you are coming onto a new team. So that is something to take note, but it doesn't look like it slowed them down. Obviously, ADHD picking up the first kill for them on that re-gank helps their team get a little bit back into it after the first unsuccessful one. But you are right. While the gap in CS was already there, those two gangs did help out a lot. There's now, a 14 CS lead between this Karma and the Cho'Gath, which in the grand scheme of things isn't crazy. But this early on, it's pretty big. Ooh, taking a lot of damage.
A little bit of a trade here. Does the healer coming out from Santa Vegas. Going to walk away, throwing autos while he's at it, dodging right out of that Rupture. It's just a little bit of tussle between that control ward there. Playing a support champion and still tussling for the wards. As nice pillar coming out for ADHD, stopping that jump up there. No ult from Melee Vayne, so cannot make it rain with the bullet time. Dilly able to pick up the kill credit for that. ADHD able to walk out quite healthy because of those honey fruits. And Melee Vayne gonna have to be a little bit careful here. If ADHD wants to go for it, he could go for a 3v1 dive here. Is Kenneton, a little bit of harassment onto Frozen Forever, as Kale has now gotten to a point where he doesn't really have to be all too scared into this lane. He does have a little bit of extra sustain with his healing, and he even has the Swifty boots as well. We might see a little bit of a fight here. Flying Drive gonna go in. There's the bullet time. Gonna be taken over by the Jinx. As Melee Vayne just in a 1v1 against Zendrick. There's a Cataclysm right onto ADHD with the ultimate from the Kale. Sunset Diner is now back. Stun coming over to Zendrick. About to fall down. Like a drag. Nice flash over from Melee Vayne. Frozen Forever. One left alive. Trying to get the kill and go to so he can get the reset. But it's not going to be enough. That's going to be a double going over to Melee Vayne. And they may have lost to Drake. But they won that fight. Can of 10 the only one dropping down there. And they swing the game and the tempo back in their favor.
That was kind of the perfect use of a Cataclysm there, dropping it right onto Zendrick, and it only finds Zendrick, but the thing is that they're able to easily pin them down, kill that support. But the just spacing that it put Dilly stuck onto the back wall of the Drake pit, and Frozen was stuck out in the mid space in a 2v1. Meanwhile, once they got over the wall, it was just Angrotus versus Dilly. Dilly was already weakened. There was just not much they could do. It was a perfect spacing ult, and it led to them getting almost everything they want except for the Drake. We do see here the Grubbies are being started. St. of A just went down to check it out, and they will confirm that it's being taken, but they're going to get spaced away from Rutledge. Really, nothing they could do there. They have to give it.
This is in this play, going to be flashed away from the flame drop, but his knight is there. I'm pretty sure he's going to fall down. Kill credit going over to Zendrick. And top side, Rutledge actually takes down Saint of Aegis as well. Did have to expend his flash ultimate, but that's a stack well earned. Gonna get a bit of alone time. Those are words. And this top side with those tower planings and a lot
there's
of
no TP.
and gold. Gonna be falling.
There's no TP available.
That's rough spot.
Multiple plates. Yeah, it's almost it's 2 full ones and some significant damage. So that's a lot of gold that just went into Rutledge's pocket for practically free. Like you said, it did cost a little bit there, but that was not a too crazy investment for what they just got out of it. Again, they did also secure the grub, so that's 2 major jungle objectives secured for ID. I honestly, in the chaos, did not see who got the Feat of Warfare. I would lean towards Flannel because I know ID just got 2 kills. So I would believe it's 1-0 in terms of feats of strength right now, but ID are very close, one more major jungle objective away to bringing that to 1-1. And Rutledge getting all of those turret platings is really good for the possibility of taking that first turret. So ID bringing it back. They now have tied it in gold difference, but in terms of the feats of strength, they are very close right now.
And the only good thing in saving grace for Saint of Vegas is that he is playing a Karma, and the items he does want to go aren't too expensive. And the champion in general with the kit does do well without needing too much gold expenditure. Dilly and Zendrick knows something's going on here. They're playing very safe.
Red.
Nice! Spidey senses coming out from Dilly and Zendrick, knowing something was up here, and they're able to sniff it out. Now that's some challenger tier just awareness there, I want to say. ADHD is now into this bot side as well. Can of 10 and Frozen Forever also roaming down, so that could have been a possible 4v4. Nothing happens, though. It's just going to be the scuttle taken away from Angotis, and he's just going to head back into his bot side.
Yeah, full clear is going to be coming through here from the Trundle. Obviously, divert it away just to ensure that their bot lane was safe. But now we're going to see a bit of a reset. Both junglers are going for a more full jungle clear. There's really no major objectives to fight over. We're kind of in that dead space where there's some time before anything really comes up. I think the next one to come up is going to be a Drake in about 1 minute. Still unaware of what the next one will be. But the Ocean Soul not being on the table, as the Ocean Drake was picked up first. Again, it's not one of the better souls, so I think both teams are going to be happy to have some of the stronger ones on hand. I definitely think either the Hextech or the Cloud Soul would be best here for ID. Honestly, I think both teams would appreciate either of those, though. They are the 2 best in the pool, but I think both of them would get pretty good value out of them regardless.
Grotus is really trying his best to see if he can find anything.
He's trying, man. He's trying desperately. He's sitting on this bot lane right now.
Yeah, ID's bot lane did put a ward into that center burst, so they were able to scope it out. Drake is about 20 seconds, so it's not like Ingrotus is not on the side of the map he wants to be on, but still, his entire top side is up, so he is hemorrhaging a little bit on his camp timers, while ADHD just having his top camps just spawned right now. So a little bit ahead, but still, both top camps on both sides, save for the buff, are going to be up. Drake just spawned here, so we're going to see what they plan on doing. We do see Santa Vegas rotating onto this bot side, so they are really wanting to go for this play here.
Oh,
and it's going to be a stun up from Sunset Diner, but there's the Magnet Storm there. There's the Flag and Dragon, the bullet time. Dilly has to be careful. There's a Solar Eclipse, but ADHD and Zendrick caught on the wrong side of that wall. Zendrick forced the flash. There's the Monster Shield, but World Between Worlds is going to try to find out Melee Vein with the flash. Dilly going to be knocked up, forced to flash himself. Frozen Forever trying his best. Melee Vein on a rampage. Frozen Forever trying to do his best. If he cannot get in Growth, it's not going to be enough. That backflip may have looked impressive, but it wasn't impressive enough for that play. Santa Vegas TPing to the top side to stop that turret from falling. And all of this while Can of 10 is into the mid lane, grabbing turret damage, grabbing some plates, getting some golden XP, and Drake goes over to Flannel. What a power play from them.
Is there any way they also take this mid tier? No,
Maybe
okay, because here comes
walking
Rutledge.
over. Canton is going to be knocked up here. He does have his chomp ready. Flash up in a couple of seconds with Sunset Diner and Goda. So now here, Rutledge trying his best, going to be knocked up. ADHD is also here. Nice double stun from Sunset Diner, but not much is going to be found out there. Nice recovery. They get their mid laner out alive. They also got the Drake here. Santa Vegas just looking to prowl around, see if he can't find any extra damage. He got that wave up into the top side. Rutledge took about half his HP, but he will heal that up with his passive once he takes some of these minions out.
I remember talking to Becky and him saying that the player to watch for this team was Angrotis. Angrotis and Saint of Aegis are two players who have incredibly strong upsides, but can also have very low downsides. This game for Angrotis, though, has been so class.
Target here once again from ADHD. There's the pillar. There's the knockup from the rupture here. And there's the execute. I wonder how Karma tasted there. Rutledge,
that is first turret,
so I think. Going to push this in. Like you said, first turret is going to go over to them, so this should equalize the feats up 1-1 here. We'll see if...
Oh, never mind.
Nope, they did get the first 3, so...
I was wrong. Okay, yeah. Yeah, feats of strength go over to ID. But yeah, even though Saint of Aegis is struggling up on that top side, a lot more priority has been put up there. But Angrotis, despite kind of leaving the Karma to suffer up on the top, everything he's done on this mid to bot side has been so good. The cataclysms have all been hitting, doing exactly what they need to do, spacing off in the fights that they need it, as well as prioritizing the right targets. I mean, completely isolating Dilly in that last fight. If they ignored Dilly and just let him keep free farming, that fight easily could have gone the way of ID. But because of the cataclysm, jump over the wall, hit and land onto Dilly, means that Dilly just did not have the time or the room to do what they needed to do, and the entirety of ID crumbled. That, paired with the rest of the team just performing outstandingly across the map, means that they get pretty much everything they want. ID have secured the feats of strength, so it's not perfect, but it's pretty much more of a equalizer after that round of just everything going Flannel's way. In terms of that, it does mean that the game is pretty static right now. The only real difference is the fact that ID is secured a Rift Herald, so that's something they can play around in the next couple minutes, and they do have the grubs, so that's going to be a nice little boost to them when it comes to the time to start sieging. But there is still a lot of time before that becomes a real big impact in the game.
Yep, and mid tower about to fall down here. Gonna open up the map for Flannel if they're able to get that. And Santa Vegas, Rutledge, once again, gonna be seeing each other. Malignants being finished up here with the Boots of Lucidity. So Saint is just gonna be slinging those spells non-stop. We'll see if he goes more of a full-on damage and maybe pick up something like a Leon Trees, maybe a Blackfire, or if he wants to go more of a support and pick up the Moonstone. Moonstone, very strong onto the Karma. And seeing how he's not the support as well, he will have the economy to maybe split up for more of a little bit of a support-oriented build if he wants to. But ADHD, doesn't matter which side of the map you on, Saint of Aegis is going to be the target for ID. Is going to be forced to flash away from that rupture once again. Canton, Frozen Forever, a little bit of a scuffle into this top side, both about exiting that skirmish with about half HP. But yeah, Saint of Vegas can't catch a break with ADHD. Just go, 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 go. This Trundle is always onto this Karma. So, I mean, he has to try his best to get as much out of the Trundle pick because, I mean, with it being both solo laners aren't really that bruiser heavy, the ultimate does not really do as much for ADHD. So, yeah, trying to make up for it in other ways.
Yeah, this is the equivalent of watching like a UFC fight, and one of the fighters clearly starts like limping, so you see the other fighter start really targeting the leg. You already see the weak point here. This cover is already behind, so it is the area where you can get the most value, especially if you're trying to capitalize on getting kills. So not surprising to see ADHD pretty much hunting down this Karma. Oh, a little bit too aggressive.
Be careful, this Spike Drag Magnet Storm does have the flash, is going to use it, but there's a Cataclysm dunking right on ADHD. And Grotus throwing the thumbs up. Drake up in 15 seconds. That's going to be 2 Drakes for them. ADHD being down means there's really no way ID can really go for this fight. It was 2 ultimates expended for Flannel, but that's not going to be enough. You still got the ultimate from Canton. You got that vulnerability. You got the bullet time from LFA as well. So you're just going to give this one right over and more solo time with some solo
There's
XP
a steal.
over
Okay, too early.
Level 13, by the way.
Say,
so
this is...
3 more levels.
Yeah, I was gonna say some steal potential. Oh, jeez.
He's gonna try to go for it. Frozen Five got to be careful though. The flash into the vision. You don't have any vision there. Turn the lights back on. Oh no! Nice outplay from Frozen Forever. Both flashes from the mid lane. Zendrick maybe caught in the wrong side, but he's good so far. He's just gonna take the X portal to safety. It was so close from Canton to trade that one around. ADHD back on this bot side once again. Is going to try to force down this tower with the Rift Herald they picked up earlier. Gonna headbutt that in straight. Shouldn't kill the tower. Should be pretty close though. They can just walk in with those little bobbers.
Might be able to get 2 out of it. Yeah, no. Notably, Otacon is up, and it does look like they're going to try to go for it. Obviously, dropping the Rift Herald puts a lot of prio towards the spot side. The Kale did just reset. So they are going to try to take it. There's no vision here, too. So they're already at halfway. I don't even think Flannel are aware. They are making their...
Protus is now running over. He now sees the flag drag going in. The smite coming in! It was too early, and Grotus able to steal it away! Resistance still coming back up from ID. They're going to have to be a little bit careful. A couple low HP bars, about a third from a couple of their members, or a fourth, my bad. Doesn't matter. They're not going to be able to find anything else. Flannel Esports able to steal it away. ADHD, a little too... Not even a little. That was quite early from a smite. That wasn't even close. It was still like about 1k HP when he smited. Oh, and Rotus, got to be careful here. Gonna be able to dodge out. Gonna use the flash. Did not have his flag and drag up quite yet. Ends up living, but uses his flash. But he will take that any day of the week.
Yeah, Flannel basically just came in and said, thanks for the leash, I guess. That early smite was crazy. Maybe a little bit of nerve setting in there as Grotus continues to just hit every beat that they need to.
Yep.
Oh, ADHD.
ADHD, there's the Magnet Storm. Resistance being shredded from that. ADHD gonna fall down. Melee Vayne unstoppable. 5-0. This MF, look at that build. Juntal IE going to be doing some damage. Didn't want the utility from the BT build. He went full gun-ho here, and it is working.
Yeah, no, and we are now really starting to see the scariness of this Flannel composition. Obviously, we said there's a lot more synergy with them, and it's really starting to show. 5-0-5 MF, 4-0-6 J4. Kale is starting to really come online, and she's sitting at 1-3-3, which is not bad at all. Also did pretty darn well in their lane. They're up in CS too. Fun fact, Canton is one of the best at CSing in the entire league right now. In fact, they're the best CS per minute by quite a mile. So this was actually a really good pickup from them, and they're starting to become really scary. They're about to hit that 16 mark. So ID, definitely the time is ticking, and they very clearly do not have a winning route quite here yet, which is a very scary prospect for any ID fan right now. There's no path to a win right now.
Yeah,
at least not for right now.
That was the thing with this comp though with Flannel, is that they have a very strong late game comp with the Karma, with the Kale as well. Their engage is very easy. It's very simplified. It's consistent as well. The only like consistent engage ID have is with the Leona. Everything else is all circumstantial with the Rupture, with the Pillar from ADHD. While Flannel, I mean, they have a lot of stages of the game set. They had the early, they had the mid, they had the late game. In general, with their comp all set up and ready to go. And you could really tell, outside of a little bit of complications, I will say, that could be maybe avoided from Flannel, it was still just well done from their team fight into that Drake pick, as Canton still have to be a little bit careful. It is 2-item Aurora now. He's not quite level 16, doesn't even have his second item yet. And he went Swifty Boots instead of maybe going for more of a defensive like Merc Tread. So Frozen Forever was hunting, was looking for something, but Reset gonna be able to get off as Melee Vayne be the target here, gonna be forced to flash, and Godus and Sunset Diner now looking for something. Since they're gonna be stunned up. Sunset Diner going to try to go on Dilly. Dilly's just going to have to flash away. Rupture right onto Melee Vein. Solo Eclipse onto 2. And then it's going to be Magnet Swim into bullet time. They're clumped up here. That's the combo we were looking for. Dilly is not long for this world either. Falling down the Saint of Aegis. Flannel got their composition off, and that's what it looks like. There's nothing ID can do.
Yeah, they have been knocking on the door, then they were banging, then they were pounding on the door, and finally, I think that team fight was them bringing the ram in. The door is broken down, the game is cracked open, and Flannel are looking for an end here. They are going to secure their third Drake. We're getting to the point where Baron is coming into play in the next 10 seconds. If they want it to, they'll have the time to really set up for it here. There's also no vision from ID on the Baron. So they could easily turn this into a quick take, or they could just take this momentum that they've already built and go for it.
Ooh.
Frozen is...
Oh,
no.
Frozen, no. Look at that damage! Oh, no! Melee Vein is godlike. That's your MVP finalist right there. Oh, no. That was just... unfortunate. He's a rabbit. He went out on his own, and he got prowled on, hunted, and unfortunately killed. So Melee Vein and Grotus both going to be eating rabbit tonight after that one. It's just unfortunate. Yeah. Flannel just have full control.
They do. And on top of that, the timer is ticking. Catatin, level 16. Remember when I was like, yeah, and they're 1-3-3, which is really good. Now, what, 2 minutes later, it's 3-3-5.
Not able to take the Hex Portal away. Nice Blast Plant, though. Is that going to be enough? The Zap is there going to miss. The speed up from Sunset Diner. Saint of Aegis lives. Oh, no. He doesn't need the Hex Portal.
Getting away with this.
Saved his life. And it looks like Flannel now looking for something possibly here. Zindra going to be tethered up. Saint of Aegis, and he's going to be a little bit careful. Chopped up from Outledge. He has a taste for this karma, and he likes it. Gonna fall down. Add another stack to Outledge's full. A little bit too high feed for Saint of Vegas. He thought he could find something, but not quite going to be enough. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the back and forth here.
Oh, Frozen Forever. Drag. Frozen Forever, got to be careful. Forced to flash there. Sunset Diner is here. ADHD, got to be careful. There's the bullet time. Going to be canceled up by that pillar. Melee Vein trying to do as much damage as possible. ADHD taking a lot of damage. Frozen Forever in the backside here. It's going to slow up Melee Vein. I'm pretty sure he's just going to fall down. That's a throw if I've ever seen one. Shutdown going over to ADHD. I don't think that's quite who you maybe wanted it on, but still, it is gold nonetheless. Baron is up. Saint of Vegas with TP, but the bot lane from Flannel was down. ID have no choice. They have to go for it. TP coming up from Frozen Forever, so he is here if need be. Saint of Aegis with the Hex Portals. ADHD is trying to heal up from this Drake at about half HP. And Grotus, can he find the steal? Can he find another heist? So far, they don't even have any vision. They're not even going to go for it. They're just going to give it right over. Chomp going over to Routledge. Add another stack to his pull. And Baron going to be picked up. The gold is about even now. So ID found some breath of fresh air here. Oh my, Flannel. That's not what you want to see at all.
No, they were in a prime position and they just give away 3 kills. Like literally give away 3 kills. There was no reason they needed to take that much aggression, and they continue to do so. The canceled bullet time also makes me question. They easily could have just chunked out Zendrick to the point where they had no impact.
Yeah.
Oh, it was canceled by the pillar. Oh, okay, I didn't see the pillar go through. But yeah, no, it's just unfortunate for them. It all kind of fell apart there. The Baron is also going to be a real problem because, again, I said it so long ago, but they also picked up all 3 grubs. So once the sieging comes through, that's going to be a big impact play. And now with mid being so low, only tier 2s are going to be left if they take this tier 1 and mid. It could get very scary here. I do think Flannel still technically had the lead in terms of gold, and I think they have the item lead as well. So it's not going to be all doom for them, but what they could have had in terms of a bit of a snowballing effect, they kind of handed away, giving ID a little bit more foothold in. So Flannel definitely going to be kicking themselves here, but I don't think there's that much. It's mostly, yeah, on these side lanes is where you're going to really have a big problem. Oh, no.
Looking for something here. ADHD is here to answer up. TP coming up. from Saint of
he's
Aegis.
dead.
Can of Tin is just shredding. And look at that shield! Oh my, staff of floating water. And with the Shrelia. So he went more of the support build. So we do see that coming out. And good thing too, that heal and shield power coming up clutch here. Can of Tin, he's online now. 3.5 items. He just shot up in the top of the rankings there. And is about to flame Horizon Frozen Forever. 320 CS, not even 30 minutes.
Again, Canatin, technically and statistically the best CSer in the entire split. Not surprised. We do see both teams setting up here. But yeah, I'm not surprised. ID have already lost 2 with the bear. Oh, gee, Canatin.
Image going out, but there's the rest of the Flannel onto the backside. One between worlds to get frozen out of that world. Zenja going to be locked up by the Cataclysm, about to fall down. That's the J4 pick right there. Bot lane with no gap closers. You can't go anywhere. And what looked like a trap set up by ID for the TP from Canatin, it was them baiting for them to spring their own trap as the rest of Flannel were in prime position. That's Soul for Hexdrake. Rutledge is looking for something, going to be knocked up. Ooh. And Melee Vayne on the backside against ADHD. I don't think it's going to be enough. Double knockup is there, but Rutledge taking a lot of damage. Look at these beef front lines. There's the bullet time shredding Rutledge's HP bar. And there goes ADHD. Smite coming out from Godus. That's Soul going over 3 Hexdrakes plus the Soul. That's 15% attack speed. That's 15 ability haste. And that's a AoE slow on top of that. With the Atacon, Flannel just have everything coming up for them right now.
Yeah, I mean, just going back and looking at that fight, I mean, there was just no damage. Rutledge and ADHD were just sitting there swinging at him, hit him with a double knockup, and it just looked like they was doing nothing. Oh, Saint of Aegis does have the movement speed to get out. Yeah, again, the shield.
I'm not gonna lie though. I'm not gonna lie. There is a world where Saint of Aegis can find a outplay against Frozen. I don't understand it. Use the Mantra W, people. It heals for so much. If you notice between him using his Mantra E and his regular E, the shield difference, it was alright, but it wasn't enough. And there it goes. Shields are temporary, HP's forever. And Godus going to be ruptured up, slowed up. There's a Zenith Blade, but nice flag and drag there. And the Pillar not going to quite find him on the wrong side there. And Super Mega Death Rocket and Godus healed up a little bit too much for that execution. But yes, it's the Mantra W. The amount that it heals is so much better than the difference of shield you're going to get from the Mantra E. If you saw that between him using his regular E on himself and when he used it away to get away from Frozen Forever, the shield is probably a couple hundred more. But Frozen didn't even come halfway to destroying the shield. So that it was wasted, right? And that's one thing I gotta really harp on. It's like you gotta use that Mantra W. You got to abuse how strong it is, especially after you take damage because it's missing health. So the more low you are, the more HP you're gonna recover, and it's a lot. Trust me, especially if you have some of these support items that give you heal and shielding power. Still, don't want to harp on it too much, and Grodus gonna steal that away instantly. The camps from ID are now Flannel's camps, and pretty much just waiting for an angle from this Baron coming up in about 40 seconds. Flannel going to take a couple of resets off here. Probably all head into his top side. 4 items onto this KO. Can of Tin is uber strong, and so is Melee Vayne. And so is Ingrodus. I mean, they have triple threats. Look at Ingrodus' build. He has the Sterix. He has the Black Cleaver. He even has, I always forget the name of that item. I don't know why. He has the Steel Sigil as well. I don't know why I always forget the name of that item. Sundered Sky. I know that one. I know that one. It's Sundered Sky. It's one right next to the Sterix. But
there is a world in which ID can very clearly bring this back with this next team fight, though. I mean, they're about 4K behind, but 1,500 from securing the Baron. Plus, if they were able to full team wipe, that would be a lot of extra gold in their pocket.
Oh no, Melee Vayne, what are you doing? No, not even ID was ready for him to just walk into 4 members. Use the flash, but Flannel now in an advantageous position. They're looking for something else to the backside. Zenja, the target, taking a lot of damage. Melee Vayne positioning correctly, and Grodus dominating. Frozen half HP, a lot of damage coming out. That's the kill going to Sunset Diner. Double stun coming out. Frozen forever, trying to do his best, not going to be enough. Kind of places him right onto the Trundle, falling down. Rutledge, the boss, the final boss, is trying his best to see if he cannot do anything, but that's a quadra kill going over to Ingotus. Who stole his Penta? Who was it? Who robbed this man of his Penta on J4? It is just going to be Flannel going to the Baron pit. I think they could just end the game, but
I think it would have been a little close.
They do have Kenneth up still. That's a lot of damage on towers, plus the attack speed from the flag, but I'm not the one playing. I'm the one commentating, and that's what they decided to do. That is still going to be Flannel wearing purple, 1,500 extra gold, half a level, and I don't think they're going to struggle to win anyway.
By the way, I think it was Santa Vegas. I think it was the Karma that stole the kill. They're now 1-5-14.
Everybody, it was. Well, it could have been worse if it was Sunset Diner, but still, the Karma. Oh, there's Doncor for him as well. So he is mega strong right now. Santa Vegas, these shields are going to be huge.
Yeah, I do think that while they probably could have ended, I actually do like the play to go for Baron. It's a lot more secure. They're now in a much better position. Also, Elder's up in 1 minute. It guarantees they're going to have this buff for the possible Elder fight. It just feels a lot safer, where a quick take would have been, I think, like 50-50.
With Flash, Flash from Billy.
He's done.
There's Flash coming out from him.
Gets out.
Yeah, both gets out, but that's Flash from both the jungler and ADC without gap closes. Next Cataclysm spells the death for both of them. Ken of 10 has the Verdant barrier.
Turret's gone.
Rutledge can't really do anything. This is what I'm saying. The damage on this kill for structures, it's so much. Walking right into Rutledge, road between worlds is going to be canceled out from that Verdant barrier. That is going to be coming out. Kenneth going to flash forward. He's got to be a little bit careful though. All by himself. Shutdown going over to Rutledge. Found out what Angel tastes like. And Zendrick and ADHD with the flank here. There's the Make It Rain to try to buy some space. TP coming out from Frozen Forever, but he doesn't have the ultimate. He doesn't have the flash. He's going to try his best. Santa Vegas, a lot of damage coming out. Melee Vayne, but look at that shield. It's so big. As Melee Vayne trying to sling as many autos as possible. Caught on the wrong side, though. That is going to be Frozen Forever falling down, but Sunset Diner as well as ID found a little bit of something here. It was still 2 for 3 in favor for them. And they bought some time for them to possibly get this Elder Drake. It's Ingrotus and Santa Vegas, both still alive. Let's see if they want to try to tempt fate here to see if they can't stop this. I honestly believe there is a world for it.
Is there smite for them?
J4. They do have the trump from Rutledge, though. They do have the trump from Rutledge. And that is stronger than smite. That is going to go over to them. Yep. Elder picked up, and look at the members it's on. Outside of Zendrick, Dilly, Rutledge, both great members you wanted on. Would have been nice to get on Frozen, but still, ID are not giving up hope at all here.
Flannel. I mean, I thought the move there for Flannel was send Can of 10 off onto the sideline, put a lot of pressure, save themselves, just keep themselves alive in that lane, keep the pressure, pull as much prio as they can over to that top side, and use the Baron buff to secure that Elder. But they try way too hard to get way too much, and in the end, most of them lose the Baron buff, and they just lost Elder, which was pretty much their win condition. So now Flannel have given ID so much more life than they really ever needed to give away. That is really rough. Flannel are still ahead. ID still have to climb to get to a win con here. The Elder just helps level the playing field during some of these team fights. But man, like I said, this should have been Flannel's. This is Flannel's to lose right now.
Okay, that was looked a little weird, and Gotus thought he could sidestep the Rupture, but decided to try to flash away. Still got hit by it, but he's still fine. He's so tanky. He has the GA. He hasn't died a single time in this game, by the way. 25 KP out of 28 kills on his team, so doing quite well for himself, as Can of 10 just stealing away all the resources that ID could have into the jungle. He's currently full build, so not much else he can really do with the gold, unless maybe he wants to swap out a couple items, maybe sell his boots for something else. Still, though, it is going to be him pushing out onto this bot side, and it is going to be a constant juggle of who is going to answer him, because you have to send I would say at least 2 to not have one of you die, and 3 to hope that one of you don't die. But tier 1 tower from Flannel's mid lane finally about to fall down 39 minutes into the
More
game
gold.
as Can of 10 is continuing to push forward. Nice shield coming off Santa Vegas. They're trying their best to leverage their Elder. They have 20 seconds left on it. Can of 10 is just pushing into the side lane. All 5 members of ID are here, but the amount of range that Flannel have, they have the Hex Soul as well. So ID, it is going to be so hard for them to find an angle for them to really find a time to reset or back without just walking all the way. And with the front line and the peeling that Flannel has, ID are just in a position where they have to try to find something. They might be able to find it. Millie taking a lot of damage, going to be cleansed out from that one. He has to just auto try to do as much damage as possible, but the subjugating melee vein there. And Zindra going to be the target, and Grota's going over with his flag and drag. That's a lot of damage to grab Cannon though. No one can get to him. He's doing so much. Makes the ultimate sense of dying to make sure he doesn't fall down. There goes Dilly. No more damage. Front ledge trying his best, trying to eat and Grota's, but not even close. Quadra kill going over to Cannon. This is a chance for a Penta. Can he pick it up? Frozen forever with no ult, no flash. The rabbit is being hunted. Look at the hungry wolves on the prowl. They want that pentakill and they want it bad. The wave is still quite far away, but they have this bot wave that is still quite a lot of damage onto the towers, even without the minions. But here comes the supers from the bot wave because of Cannon 10. That is going to be a lot of damage coming out. They're going to go for it. Is he going to be able to pick it up? No, not quite, unfortunately. A little too long. Unofficial pentakill going over to Cannon 10. And game 1 going over to Flannel Esports as finally, after 40 minutes, are able to pick this one up. That game went on way longer than it probably should have.
I mean, yeah, there was 2 different periods of time in which I was looking at it going, yeah, well, there was 2 periods of time where Flannel looked like they just could have ended the game, and both times they kind of just tossed it away. So Flannel get themselves over the line, but it's a little tricky. It definitely was a Flannel game. It was not quite as bad as the High Alert game, but there was definitely games where moments where I was sitting here with hands in the head going, what are they doing? But at the end of the day, a win is a win, and you take them where you can. So they pick up a game. It was against ID, which is a really solid team. And to be fair, despite those 2 pretty big throws towards the end of it, they had firm control of that game pretty much from start to end. I mean, anytime that they kind of threw away, they didn't ever throw away a lead. They just gave ID more of a chance to either come back or let them equalize. Flannel constantly was either equal or ahead. So that was overall a very good showing for Flannel. The closing of the game just seems to be where they're a little sketchy, but of course, but at least the actual game is going well for them. So peaks and valleys, highlights and lowlights, but they get the win at the end, at least for game number 1.
Can of 10 did 51,000 damage that game. Melee Vein did 43k, did quite a bit. The highest damaging on ID was Frozen Forever, and that was with 28.7k. Even Engrotus did more than Frozen Forever. The jungler was still building a little bit of a Juggernaut Bruiser, but still a lot of damage going out there. I'm even afraid to see what the shielding was out from Santa Vegas there, as it was quite large. He still had another spot for a 6th and final item as well. But Flannel, like you said, need to learn how to close out these games. I believe before they got that Baron, that they would have been able to push to end. It was just Zindra coming out in about 18 seconds, and there's no way he would have been able to do anything. And the amount of damage that Can of 10 does to the towers, I believe they could have done it. They went for the safer play, and they were still able to find the win. They had so much left on the map for ID have to slog through anyway. Good on Flannel, but that's just game number 1. As Flannel looking for a 2-0 here to really show a statement, to show that contrary to what their last split standings are, they are here to play. They are here to make a full-off playoff run. They're here to make it convincing. They are here to win. Ladies and gentlemen, though, don't go anywhere for game number 2 between ID and Flannel Esports. All right, everybody, welcome back. Game number 2 between Flannel Esports and ID. We are swapping sides here. Flannel onto blue, ID onto the red. This time, Flannel not gonna have their colors this time around, so not gonna have a little bit of that extra home field advantage, I guess you could say. First ban gonna come out already though, and that's going to be Frozen Forever's Anivia. Definitely not gonna give that to him. Are we gonna see ID triple banning supports again? We'll have to see. There's the Milio.
You see the
Same
Milio.
ban within the Fury. We'll see if they really just do not want to give any supports over. Maybe it's because they don't want to be seeing supports into this top side like they did in the Karma in that first game. Even with all the supports they banned, there were still 2 supports that game, and one of them went top.
I mean, yeah, and if they do triple ban support again, that does mean that the pool becomes very limited. No, it does look like we're going to see the Rise ban. That was actually a ban that they did have in game number 1, but they waited until the second wave of bans to do that. So that's going to be an interesting adaptation. I mean, Lucian, I was going to say that after all the bans in the last series, I said then I noticed that the Lucian Nami was open. So, like, that was a viable path for pairing there. But with that Lucian ban, that does make the list of strong pairings, like the classic pairings, a little weak. There is like the Senna Tom Kench. That is probably the best one still on hand. But the Jinx and the Lucian and the Misfortune all being away, it just means that there's just really strong ADCs and there's really strong supports up, but I don't think there's a really strong pairing outside that Senna and Tom. So that's going to be something to keep in mind here. Ziggs is a choice. That is a hard flex.
Could be top. Who knows?
I mean, yeah,
it's entirely
a lot of
possible.
options.
There's the Braum. I doubt it's going to be a Ziggs bot. I mean, who knows? They could just throw it down there anyway, but I don't know why you would ever. If you're gonna take Braum, I don't know
Seems
why you're ever
weird
gonna
pairing.
think about throwing Ziggs down there. Unless you're planning on just completely abandoning bot side, like after level 2, level 3. So like after the first few waves, and you just plan on being top side for the rest of the game. Even then, a little bit of a weird pairing. Even if they do end up doing that, Gwen gonna be locked in this flex. Could be jungle, could be top. Who knows? Maybe Canton will throw it into the mid lane. Soraka gonna be picked up. I'm noticing a pattern with Flannel. They really like these like type of champions, and that's probably why they were banning triple supports, because that's what Flannel plays, really well. That just constant healing, constant shielding, making it very hard to play. That doesn't surprise me considering Can of 10 is on the team, and I know Can of 10 was played on those types of comps a lot, just in the past. Still though, Gwen Soraka combo, quite scary, quite hard to kill. You throw the Sivir in there with the range, wave clear, and with the ultimate. ID going to be answering with the Pantheon, assuming that's probably going to go into the jungle. I wouldn't imagine it going top lane. I don't think Rutledge plays
Would
it. I
also
could be wrong on that.
Could also be a mid. This is very, besides the Braum, the Ziggs and the Pantheon is a very heavy flex right now. Pretty much everyone but the Braum could go anywhere, which is definitely interesting. We do see the Akshan ban, which I think is also a pick. Akshan, I don't think is a comfort pick for anyone on Flannel and is not very in the meta. So that is an interesting ban away. The Alawi does come through. Canton does play it. Okay, never mind. Thank you for that. So that does ban out. We see more of a top lane focus for Flannel. Not surprising. It's Rutledge. Yeah, you have to respect Rutledge a little bit. You cannot just allow him to have free pick. So we do see the Aurelia also get banned away. So another top laner. So this top pool is going to be a little limited, but should still have plenty of options. Kennen, same ban as last. So new first ban for the second wave, but the Kennen stays banned out.
So I assume they pick their top laner. Well, I don't know, because again with the Braum, it's like you're really expecting that Ziggs to go mid, and I feel like even as Flannel, if you like get blindsided by the fact it goes ADC, I really don't think that's gonna matter considering you pick Sivir and Soraka. So not much is really gonna be done here. So ID gonna decide to go with the Tristana. Again, this could be flexed in multiple different ways, and I think that's kind of what ID wants to go for. I would imagine still the Tristana Braum is a strong lane, and I don't see Flannel's bot lane really do anything into Tristan or Braum as Civ or Soraka. They can live through the lane, and I think that's exactly what they want to do. And ID gonna have to try to find just early game pickups, as we see everyone's favorite champion, Cassante, most likely come out. There it is. Very easily blindable champion into this top side, and we'll have to see if maybe the Gwen is into the jungle, if for some random reason Canada wants to take it into the mid lane. We don't know. But so far, Flannel, I mean, it's front to back, just run at them team comp. Oh, okay. There's Kennethon
Zed.
Zed. We know where that one's
There we
going.
go. Yeah. I do kind of like the approach from ID, and I kind of don't like the approach from ID. It's very flexible, which means that depending on how Flannel pick, it means that they can choose which lane they want to give the weak side and the more prio towards. It does also mean that this final counter pick is pretty much free range. They can pick pretty much anyone. Okay, so that is going to be Urgot top, unless they pull something crazy out of the hat. I'd imagine that's going to be an Urgot top. I'd imagine that's a Panth jungle with a Ziggs mid, Triss and Braum bot lane. That would be the logical. But I mean, we did see them do that last minute Kale Karma swap, so they could pull something crazy out of the hat here. But that's what I imagine this will be. I do think that top lane matchup does favor ID a little bit. Obviously, range top laner into a Cassante, but Cassante, much like Ornn, is one of those champions where you just kind of do well into most matchups. Like that Ornn, the Gnar, Cassante, all of those where like even if it's a counter, they don't have very many real hard counters, or at least not very common ones. So this Cassante, while it should be a bit on the back foot, I think should do relatively fine. But that being said, I think all the other lanes are pretty even. That does also mean Gwen into the jungle, which I don't think is her main role. I think we typically see her more towards the top side.
I'm just. I obviously Zed in competitive play. A lot of people wondering
Mm.
if if there ever a spot for it. Kennethon has piloted this before and has done extremely well with it in the LFA. Tristana, Ziggs, both really good targets for him. Pantheon could still be a pretty good target. Braum, one of those champions that is deceptively tanky because of his E, but still, it's still like a lot of good things. I feel like for Zed, there's not like a lot of big shutdown. The biggest thing they have is like Pantheon W, like this instant stun point and click. That's the easiest thing to have to kind of shut him down. The biggest thing for ID is their engage. They really don't have all that much of it. Pantheon R, and that's pretty much the only engage you have that you can look for consistency's sake. So it is again kind of up to being creative with ID to see if you can't find some of these leads. You do have, I'm assuming, the Tristana Braum into this bot lane. So if they can get a large lead off of that with the extra range Tristana gets throughout, getting levels, it could be a possibility for ID to kind of be able to push a volatile lead enough to be able to find the win. But once again, I feel like when it comes to the later stages of the game, it's just so much easier for Flannel to run their comp over IDs. Even with
Yeah, I
the
would
Zed.
agree. Yeah, even with, I mean, we've been seeing a little bit of that, and it's been getting a lot of value. So, and most people just don't expect it. I also do think it's gonna have a pretty fun time going into the Ziggs, which has a little bit of mobility, but not too much. One good lockdown or a little bit of overstaying just means Ziggs gets disappeared into the night. But I do like also just the aggressive potential from this Flannel composition. I think that they're going to do really well going into ID's team. And while ID have some pretty good champions to receive them, especially like the Urgot and the Pantheon, if they can find their way into that backline is very squishy. And depending on cooldowns, if they can find their way onto a Ziggs and that Tristana, I struggle to see how they're going to outlive either that diving in Zed or Gwen. So I don't think it's anywhere near as synergistic as last game's composition for them. I think that was like a really good composition, one that we could like see on like an NACL or LC. Like I wouldn't be surprised to see that get picked up in a top tier competition. But this one definitely feels a little bit looser, but still has a game plan in mind. So I would still lean Flannel, but definitely not as hard as I leaned them in game number one.
Yeah, they have more options this time. They have more
Yeah.
avenues, more options. Obviously, if the Zed does not get off the ground, it's a huge detriment to Flannel's roster.
Mhm.
He has to be strong. He has to be able to at least pick off one of these carries, whether it be the Ziggs or the Tristana. And Tristana with the jump does make it a little bit harder. Ziggs with the satchel charge, depending if it is timed correctly, can be very annoying. But still, this roster on Flannel so damn hard to kill with all the healing from the Soraka. Gwen is
Yeah.
immune from, Gwen. Spell, shield, range, Sivir, Zed being Zed, and of course you got the Kazante. I mean, I don't really have to
Who
say
just
much. I don't
doesn't
have the
die.
copy pasta ready, but, Kazante is Kazante.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think, leaning Flannel going into this game. I think they are going to be really hard to pin down. It also means they're going to be really hard to like real focus on once they actually, because again, this team is going to want to go in. The only champion that does not want to run at your face is the Soraka, who you don't want, but is going to be healing everyone running at your face. It's definitely going to be scary for ID. They do have a good composition though, so they could absolutely pull us through, especially if they get a lead early, if they can just allow it to snowball. But it is going to be very dependent, I think, on this mid lane. I think this mid lane matchup is going to be the one to watch. But that being said, before we get to watch it, we are going to have to send it to a quick break to allow spectator delay to do its thing. So don't go anywhere. Game number 2 between ID and Flannel coming to you in just a couple of minutes.
All right, welcome back. Game number 2 between Flannel Esports and ID. Swapping sides, Flannel on the blue, ID onto the red, and there's the pause. Woo! Hopefully it'll be a quick
Had to be
little
one.
pause.
There's always one.
Well, there was one last game, but it was like a very quick pause. It was like non-existent.
Not to call anyone out, but I do remember certain Becky Rita saying that typically whenever there's a pause, it's Angrotus's fault. So, just saying. But
Yeah, well, it looks like it was Can of 10. Looks like he just left join.
Nice.
So and Grotus is off the hook this time.
This time we're watching. We're still watching.
Yeah, this time.
But
I don't really. Oh, one thing I do want to kind of bring attention to though while we're here. Do got the Conquer on the Zed. We don't have the Electrocute, so I actually like that. Considering there's only 2 like very easy viable targets, I do think Conquer is going to be better in the long run. Obviously, maybe not as good for getting a lot of solo kills into the mid lane, but honestly, if you're good enough on Zed, he has the Ignite as well. It shouldn't matter all that much. I'm just excited to see it in general, and no flash on Agrotus, of course, because he's playing Gwen.
yeah, Cat 10 is back in, so I'd assume we see a start back up here in a minute. I am interested to see if we do see anything from ID here. I mean, they have the Pantheon, so they do have pretty much a point-and-click CC. If they want to go for a little bit of early game cheese, there is absolutely the possibility and route for it. I just would imagine that would have to be towards the bot side, trying to catch out Saint of Aegis, even at level 1, K'Sante is a menace. So I'd imagine they would be going somewhere towards the bot side, but at the same time, wouldn't be surprised if we see just a normal 5-point. I think we're going to send it over to a quick break. It's taking a little bit longer even with Canatin returning, so we're going to send it to a quick break, and we'll be back when we are ready to get started here.
All right, we are finally back. Game number 2, Flannel Esports and ID. I was a 5-point on both sides. It is not a 5-point on both sides. We do see ID going in for a little bit of a cheeky invade. See if they can't find anything. Sunset Diner's is going to see that. Bailey walking away from getting tagged. Should be just fine, but just basic vision going down. Nothing too crazy. We kind of talked all of our pre-game workup, but Ghost and Grotus Ignite Conquer Can of 10. And Grotus getting the ward down, gonna run into multiple members. He's got to be careful. He doesn't have the flash. He's gonna use the ghost. It's not gonna be enough. Okay. Yep, that's why you don't walk by yourself, flashless, to get a very deep ward. I don't know why he warded that instead of just warding raptors, but you know what?
Yeah, that's a rough start.
Free donation over to Rutledge.
Hey, by the way, Angrotus has officially died more times this game than he did in the entirety of last game.
That's right, he did go deathless.
He went deathless. So already a bit of a rough start. That is a kill going over to the Urgot, which, like I said, does have a bit of an advantage into this top side. So that is definitely going to be a nice boon for the Urgot and for Rutledge. Also picking up the Cull and starting with boots. So that is a real good start for them. He should have a lot of priority in that lane, and I would not be surprised. Never mind, Angrotus is going to start on the bot side, so that does mean they are going to put pressure onto the top side after the first clear.
I want to say, how is 200 gold enough to buy boots for all of his legs? How does that work?
It's a lot of small boots. Same amount of product, but
boots.
into a bunch of tiny boots rather than like 2 big ones.
Oh, he has pretty big feet, but maybe he just is really close to the shopkeeper. Maybe he knows boys.
Honestly, if anyone would, a Chem Baron would absolutely get a discount. Probably at threat of life, they give the discount. You know what? That feels correct.
Wonder if it would be funny to see him to pick up multiple coals. I do know the multi-coal build is quite fun on Urgot. You pretty much never die in lane. Anytime you press W on a wave and you have like 3 coals, you get like 10 HP every auto. It's pretty crazy.
I think 3 coals is the move typically with that.
A little bit of trade going on here. That is kind of the trading pattern. Both of these mid laners going for a full combo of Can of 10, followed up.
And Grotus.
Okay,
Angrotus, no!
Right into ADT, right into Rutledge. Gonna be able to get away though, not able to get the flip back. And it is going to be looking like a 3v3. ADHD caught on the wrong side. You got to be careful. Laser shield up. Already going to lose his invulnerability. Flash coming up. State of Vegas with the stun. Not going to be enough. And just going to fall down, though. But frozen forever. Next one up on the chopping block. State of Vegas getting that slow. One more Q to pull him towards them. And not going to be able to quite get it. There's a flash frozen forever. Is a 1-for-1. Rutledge gonna kind of hide out into that bush, run right into Santa Vegas. Santa Vegas gonna do a little bit of training. Gonna have to be careful, cancel it out with that W. And yeah, just gonna have to walk away. Kennington is walking all of his way. That is Aftershock with the shield. He's got to be careful. Rutledge on his way. Oh, not Rutledge, Grotus on his way. There's the dash up. The Ignite gonna burn him down. One sure gonna be enough. Not even gonna try to chance it. Flash with the E. That's a shutdown, actually, going over to Kennington because of how long that took. He had double the CS of his lane opponent, and he had 2 kills. So I think it was just 100 gold shutdown, but still 100 more gold over to Kennington.
Yeah, I mean, that would be real good for the mid lane. Frozen also is in a really rough spot.
Each other again.
Oh, it's just non-stop fighting.
Yep, non-stop fighting. Aftershock gonna eat up a couple of those autos there, but it is going to be roughly an equal trade between both these top laners. And Grotus is going to walk right into ADHD. Going to try to mitigate as much damage as possible. It is a level lead over to Rutledge, but the HP lead over to Santa Vegas is going to be slow coming up. TP coming up as well. And what is going on? The power Q. Santa Vegas the target. Oh, what's going on? Double kill over to ADHD. And Grotus is 3 deaths 5 minutes into the game. Just want to point that out real quick. He has tripled his deaths. Well, I guess you can't really multiply by 0, but still tripled his deaths over from last game. He went from 0 deaths with like a pretty close to 90% KP to 3 deaths 5 minutes in. So pretty glaring difference there as The CS is still quite even in the junglers, though. It's not like ADHD has a huge lead when it comes to that.
Yeah, CS has kind of been forgotten. That being said, the mid and bot lane have kind of been left to their own. That top jungle, or the two sides of the top jungle, are just kind of where carnage has been breaking out. Zed right now does have the CS lead in mid, which again, I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. Poor Ziggs is going to get bullied here, at least early on. Meanwhile, we do see a little bit of a lead in favor of the Tristana. But again, it's only about 7 for both of them. That's not really massive. That is definitely one good gank or a really good timer on the reset to being closed. So while both sides have a lead in one lane or another, it is definitely not something that is going, unless it's such snowballing, it's not going to be all that big in terms of the big scale of the game. Though we do continue to see this mid lane just have so much pressure on it. Frozen is constantly stuck under this turret. This is a big wave to probably be crashing in the turret here. Yeah.
First River being pushed in, has quite a bit of wave to pick up here. About to hit level 6, there he goes.
Oh.
And Goda's not
Good.
playing something like Jarvan, so he doesn't have this big engage tool anymore. So not really going to be able to find all that much into a Tristana lane. This bot lane, dead even. Dilly and Zenjik, kind of hard to find a lot into a Sivir Soraka. There's just not a lot of angles. You can really just kind of go in, jump in, Sunset Diner just kind of silences you, walk away with the heals. So it's really gonna be up to ADHD Rutledge kind of run away with this huge lead they were able to pick up. Zenjik gonna find out in Grotus into the spot side, but to be honest, it seems like the game is gonna slow down at least a little bit here.
Yeah, notably here, the ID did pick up 4 kills. That does mean that the feats of strength, or the feat of warfare, excuse me, was picked up by ID. So that's going to be notable for them. Obviously, no major objectives have been taken. Grubs are going to be up here in about 30 seconds. Meanwhile, the first Drake is up. It's going to be a mountain. Maybe what, Noodle fight up on the top side? I'd assume. Yeah, nothing too crazy.
The biggest can't take it too extended right here. Looks like he's gonna go for it though. Has to be careful. The Fear Beyond Death is up. Can't really do much with that execute, but just gonna walk away. But yep. But Noodle fight back and back. Rutledge barely winning out on that one.
Yeah, but the Mountain Drake definitely is one of the better souls, but still not one of the best. So again, one of those situations where it's not great, but it's also not horrible. Some of the best souls are still on the table, while some of the worst ones are still there. So, like obviously the fact that it was, I think the Ocean and the Chemtech, 2 of the worst ones in the game last one, so meant there was always the option of having a good one last game. This time, it's still very up in the air what they could get in the end. But they do check and they do see that ID is starting the Grubbies, and they immediately get pushed back. The bombs are just a little bit too much for them to push through, so they back away. They're going to give up all 3. So ID are going to pick up their second major jungle objective, and we're going to see a very similar start to what ID had in game number 1, where they're just now one major jungle objective off of securing the feats of strength.
Yep, still possible for maybe Flannel to get first tower and get 3 straight objectives. It's going to be a pretty tall order for them. We did get a reset off from Santa Vegas here, was able to pick up a little bit of that damage mitigation. Really good into this Urgot. Decided not to go with the Bramble though. I know that's some choice that people would prefer over that, but general, it's going to be up to these teams, see if they can't find an angle to take this dragon away. I know Flannel want to at least buy themselves time to maybe possibly stop a dragon stacking or start a dragon stacking themselves. Kennington kind of just rotating around, looking to see if he can't find anything, and they might be able to dash in with a smite. Gwen is immune, can't jump in ADHD, and just gonna steal away that scuttle from ADHD. It is gonna put the smite on cooldown, but so is ADHD. So still, Drake's still not gonna be picked up from either of these teams.
Nope, it is available. Oh, I'm so dumb. Never mind. Sorry, ID did not pick up a Drake, which means they only have 1 major jungle objective. I don't know why I just assumed ID had secured it. So yeah, that one is still up to play, which means Flannel still technically behind one, but is still in a position to possibly level out for that second one. And right now, it's pretty even across the board. Obviously, this top lane has finally hit a little bit of a plateau here. Cassante really starting to come online with how much health they have as they're starting to get some really major components. Meanwhile, this bot side has stayed a deadlock. There hasn't been too much over aggression either, so both sides are very willing to just kind of let this lane run its course. And that CS lead, while it's technically still in the hands of Tristana, has closed. So it is about as deadlocked as you can physically get it. And I think both teams are pretty happy with that. I don't think either pairing here are one of those like notable real big pairings like the Lucian Nami or the Senna Tom that can kind of just hard carry you into the late game. So the fact that they're both willing to just let them play out, let them get to the mid game where they start coming online, I think is pretty good for both teams.
Yeah, we just saw the death mark coming out on Frozen Forever. He actually had to use the flash there, and Kennington didn't spend anything except for his ultimate. So still has both of his thumbs up. And there's the ultimate coming out. Grand Starfall, and it's going to be Santa Vegas looking for something nice. Kidnap away from the tower. Village going to have to be careful, taking a lot of damage. Going to be forced to flash away. Santa Vegas looking for a 1v2. Going to have to be careful, though. ADHD dealing a lot of damage. Santa Vegas has to get out of here. Dash away with the shield, not going to be enough. ADHD on a killing spree. But with ADHD showing himself onto this top side, it's going to be a green light for Ingrotus to take away this Drake. And with no top side for ADHD to steal away, no objective either, he could be looking for something onto this mid lane. Can of 10 quite low. Got to be careful. Frozen Forever. No Super Mega Inferno Bomb. So just going to be able to be a little bit greedy with that wave. Able to walk out. And it's going to be Flannel picking up the first Drake of the game. Rutledge, though, hitting some plates and denying some CS into his top side.
Absolutely. ID now getting a bit of a lead here. It did cost the Drake, however, so that is something to be a little bit disappointed in, but they have gotten quite a bit of a gold lead now, about 700 gold this point in the game. ADHD going real deep into the jungle, might catch him off guard.
Yep, Kennington's going to find him out here. He's going to flash forward, pick up a kill right onto Ingrotus, and the Knight's going to go on him. He still has the resistance! Ooh. There's a Death Mark follow-up as well. Frozen Forever going to go over the wall, but flash followed up from Can of 10. No flash Frozen Forever. There's the heal, wishing for the kill, and there it is. Double kill to Can of 10. This Zed's online!
Look at the skills, look at the moves. No, picking up a huge double kill. That does crack open the lane quite hard. I mean, 1-0-1 to go into that, coming out 3-0-1. That is huge. That levels the gold. That's a lot in the pocket of the Zed. And we were saying earlier, I know you specifically said it, that the Zed needs to kind of come online. This Zed needs to be a force, because if it's not, they're going to be so far behind, and that might just be the nail in the coffin that puts the Zed in a position to have impact into this game going pretty late on. So that is huge pickup from Flannel and giving them a bit of sign of life after losing so many kills just a few minutes earlier. Cassante is absolutely benefiting from this mountain Drake that they have already picked up already.
Ultimates are up, and it's just going to be a little bit of a wet noodle fight, but it's going to be Fear Beyond Death, but with the true damage and the straight up damage from Cassante things there, ladies and gentlemen. He had the Tabby, he had the Warden's Mail. I mean, Rutledge can't do any damage. That's so much damage mitigation. I think he even had the Black Cleaver first before that fight, I believe, and he still wasn't enough. That just shows how strong that these 10% on just basic attacks and just flat out, I think it's like 10 damage or something from Warden's Mail. Yeah, it's just when you stack those damage reduction with the armor, it's really hard for Urgot to really do all that much damage, especially before level 13, I believe, is when his shotgun knees become on the lowest cooldown they can be. So, wow, even in this top side where Rutledge is able to start pretty much 2-0, he's still quite struggling into Santa Vegas, and when he picks up that first item, and even more when he gets that Fimbulwinter, he's not really going to be able to find an angle against this Cassante.
Yeah, Cassante being online is definitely a very scary concept. Like you said, it's Cassante things. He just does what he wants, much like Mundo. It goes where he pleases. It's very hard to stop a Cassante once they start going. Though they are going
Yeah,
to try to
looking
collapse
for a
in on him
three-member
here.
into this top side here is going to be stunned up, but he's so damn tanky. That's 2 AD dealers trying to damage him, and you saw it really did not do all that much. Saint of Vegas able to live through that, and they showed all their cards into this top side. So it is going to be Shelly. The next target here, it looks like it is most likely going to be a 4v4 here. Saint of Vegas is at about half HP, so they're able to get that small little objective when it comes to the HP bar on the top laner. But still, he's walking down. They're looking for something. Guardian now procced. And it looks like Flannel's just going to give it over. The rest of the members aren't really positioning to try to stop this from happening. So yeah, they're going to pick that up. That's 2 out of 3 objectives right there. Just need one more for those feats. As Dilly looking for something right onto Melee Vein here. Fellshield going to try to lessen some of that damage. Is going to proc on the hunt. And it's going to be Ingotus going right onto Frozen Forever. Frozen Forever caught on the wrong side, though. Going to fall down. And the wish there for the healing. Double kill to Ingotus. Kind of slingshotting himself back into this game here. Now equalizing the gold between him and the jungler. As ADHD, even with all those kills into the early game, wasn't quite enough. And that was also mid-tier 1 as well. From Flannel. They completely said, you know what? You can have Shelly. We're just going to take mid-tier 1. So if they're able to pick up 2 more objectives, then they can actually pick up the feats from themselves here. Melee Vayne doing a pretty good job in his 1v1, now 2v2 with both the supports down back to this bot side, as it is going to be Saint of Vegas looking for something onto Rutledge. He does have his ultimate ready, but fortunately not going to be able to get that W to push him towards the wall. Nice, well-timed flip from Rutledge on that one.
Yeah, and the huge thing is losing that mid-tier 1 does mean that they've lost a lot of control of the jungle. That means ID are not going to have as much freedom of movement. They're not going to be able to get wards as deep. They're not going to have as much vision. And on top of that, after that big fight, Flannel are pretty far ahead. They're about 2k gold now ahead. So they're in a position where they can get the 2 major objectives that they need. Shelly was dropped on mid, notably, so I would assume that's at least most of the tier 1 gone.
It is actually a fight.
Do you see ID?
Death Mark going to be used. There's the flash coming out. Ignite, Death Mark proc, 10 of 10 on a random.
They don't have to raid. They don't have to. I don't think they know that there's a start here for the Drake. I mean, I think they finally figured it out, but it's way too late.
They just didn't want to give it over, though. Didn't want to try to fight for it. They're like, we'll just take the mid laner and we'll just kind of play this game out slowly. So it is going to be feats fully going over to ID. Some a little extra oomph to them. As, I mean, I feel like they kind of need it against Can of Tin here. He is just kind of taking over the game. Look at that. Black Cleaver's second item, so he's quite tanky as well. He's going to be shredding these resistance from all these members. And since Saint of Vegas playing Cassante doesn't tend to build Black Cleaver, so adding an extra Black Cleaver into the team comp here, or extra armor shred to the team comp, going to be good. And another tower going down, Golden Fusion going over to Flannel, as this is a really weird game state because it looks like ID is really not too far behind, but with Can of Tin kind of just walking over all over the place, and Ingrotus able to equalize the goal from his mid laner, but he might be able to be found out here. Able to dash away. Gwen is immune, able to pick up that buff, and Saint of Vegas trying his best to do as much damage as possible. Gonna bring over ADHD from the wall, taking a lot of damage from Rutledge, though. Fear Beyond Death gonna get the execute, but Frozen Forever gonna fall down. Zendrick and Rutledge on the run, ADHD as well. It's going to be a 1-for-1 mid for top, as Can of Tin gonna go right onto Dilly here. Deathmark is there. Dilly just gonna get absolutely destroyed there. Oh my, 2-for-1 long term in favor of Flannel here, as the rest of Flannel now into this top side, taking over all this pressure and stealing away the top side jungle from ID.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, yeah, it still looks like ID has realms and ways into this. I mean, they are going to secure this tier 1, but there's just so much loss of control. Both tier 1 and tier 2 being gone in the mid lane, tier 1 being lost on the bot side, tier 1 on top being pretty weak. There's just very little control they have over their jungle, which is why Ingrotus is able to push so far in for practically free. It's a little rough in terms of general game state. beyond that, because they've lost so many turrets, Flannel do still have that gold lead. It's very scary. And while Chemtech is not the best Drake for actual like buffs and statistical value, I really think that the extra vision and the extra like powered blast fruits are going to be really important. Getting these champions around the map very quickly. It's gonna get a lot of value out of a player like Canatin, who is just terrorizing these poor side laners. Poor Frozen has not had a chance to get into this game. 0-4-3 is about what, 60-ish CS behind Canatin as well. That extra movement value from those altered blast fruits are just so scary.
A little bit of a fight going here. Grand Starfall, flash away. Zendrick is supposed to hear, but Grotus is on the prowl. Could be a possible 2v3, 3v3 with Sunset Diner on his way. So is Melee Bane, though. And a lot of healing and shielding coming out. They're going to try to focus the Soraka. They're doing a good job. Fear Beyond Death is going to get the fear up, and Zendrick is going to fall down. Relic ADHD have to be careful, taking so much damage. ADHD going to fall down. Relic's going to fall down. Dilly about to fall down as well. There's the barrier, but with the wallop, with the R, Dilly able to get the shutdown right onto Melee Vane, but he's going to be chased down by Ingrodus. There's the Ghost. It's so fast. Going to be forced to flash. He's still on his way. He's still looking for something. With the auto on the minions, going to get another dash out. Can he get it? Not quite. Dilly able to barely get out of that, but on the meantime, Canatin alone into this boss side. He's going to have some low time on the tower. One more auto. He's able to get his 700 golden infusion for him. Frozen forever, though. Going to fall down to Ingrodus. This isn't your jungle anymore. Don't you know that? Frozen forever. Canatin actually did end up falling down. I'm guessing did he get executed? Did he end up getting executed?
I'm assuming so. No one's in the area. I'm assuming he got executed.
I thought he lived.
Me too. It looked like he did. I was sitting there for a second going, oh, Canatin needs to get out of Dodge quickly. But I guess that's he just got back to base sooner. He just has to take a quick vacation real quick, which is not ideal.
Vacation on that gray screen. Are they gonna try to do anything funky here? Rutledge is here. Flannel, don't do it.
Up in 20.
Don't do it, Flannel. You don't have Melee Vane there. And Gwen is immune. That's a champion right there. Gonna be stunned up twice there. That can get flipped around though. He's gonna try his best for the heal. So much healing though. Fear Beyond Death though. Saint Vegas is here. He is quite tanky though, so maybe he might be able to find a way to get out of this alive. He's trying his best, but not quite. Flannel lose too. This is what we're talking about. These little moments where they just get a little too overzealous. Drake Wright's going to go over to ID. That's going to be the second one of the game. It is just a Kim Tech, but Canatin looking for something, but he's not going to be able to quite get there in time. Don't do it. Don't tell me.
Yeah.
I think he sees Dilly. Yep, he's going to...
Oh, no.
Okay, no. I honestly thought he was just going to immediately go over and go for the kill. He decided against it. Was able to stop the back, though.
Poor Dilly and Frozen Forever are just getting bullied by Canatin right now. They're just not able to exist on a side lane or by themselves without getting hit by a shuriken. Yeah, no, that is definitely a little rough. But ID capitalizing where they need to. I mean, if Flannel is going to hand them free kills, they will happily take them. A 4v5 situation, Canatin still has like 20 seconds left on the kill timer or the death timer. I don't know why you take that fight. It's just very impractical. It gives them over a second Drake. It's just very rough all around. That being said, looking at the general state, we're about a minute out from Baron being up, and Otacon is available, but I don't really think either team is in a position to really even start it. Just like a little bit of presence from Ingrodus just to confirm that they're not. But yeah, it looks like there's a lot of presence towards that top side, obviously, with those two major objectives being on hand. But it doesn't look like either team are really willing to be the ones to push the button first.
All right, about 3k gold lead Flannel. 3 items onto Canatin. He has the Spear Sojin. So with that Conquer, he's really going to be able to do a lot in these elongated fights, and that's exactly what he wants to do. And that's something that you really got to pay attention to as well, with the fact that they have this tanky Cassante, they have this Soraka, they have this Gwen, and with Canatin building the way that he's building, he's going to be so damn tanky. And with everything else that Flannel has into the roster, it's like, who do you try to go and kill? Do you try to kill this Bruiser Juggernaut Zed? Do you try to kill Gwen as immune? Do you try to go after this Cassante, or do you try to throw everything in the kitchen sink for this Soraka, which allows the rest of Flannel to kind of just get free damage off while you do that? It's really a pick your poison game for ID on who they kind of want to focus here and who they have to try to pick off here, because I mean Santa Vegas with the Cassante can do quite a lot onto your backline if you allow him to, as Rutledge is looking for something here. That's a big shield coming out though. We'll see if Santa Vegas get out of this one though. He's taking quite a bit of damage. Tried to push him towards the wall into the tower. Not gonna be able to quite get it though. There's the heal coming out. The flash forward coming out as well. Dodge out from Fear Beyond Death. A little whiffs on both sides. I think he wanted to flash an ultim under the tower, but maybe he misclicked on his mouse cursor and flipped it a little too much. Still though, it is going to be both living out, but it's going to be the flash used from Santa Vegas.
Yeah, and Rutledge is still sitting pretty at all of that extra health, which means they're going to continue to be able to put a lot of pressure onto the spot side. Santa Vegas is kind of forced now to stay here, or else they just give up that turret. That is going to delay. That also does mean that this top side is going to continue to be a war, and Santa Vegas is one of the big threats for Flannel. So this is a really good move for ID. Rutledge doing exactly what he needs to be doing. This split pushing threat is just so great. Again, it's the exact same thing. Just keeping Santa Vegas here, keeping him out of the fight.
Still, though, Rutledge is actually the only member on his team that has 3 items, so he may be keeping Santa Vegas here, but he's also keeping himself here, right? And that's one thing he's got to be careful for. His Fear Beyond Death is up, and Grotus is here, though. He's going to pull him towards it, and I'm sorry to say, I don't care how tanky you are, you're not going to be able to get away from true damage. The Fear not going to be there because Gwen is immune, and Grotus able to get it 1 for 1, but actually 1 for 2 in favor for ID as Melee Vayne gets dove onto this mid lane tier 1. So it is still going to be ID winning out when it comes to the numbers advantage, but still, Rutledge does end up falling down, giving over a little bit of gold over to Ingrotus. And Santa Vegas, I mean, he's fine with this. He's fine giving over a death for a kill for one of his carries into this jungle, as that's 3 items now picked up for Ingrotus. 3.5 actually. Riftmaker, Rabadons, and the Nashers all finished up here, so he's quite strong. Fimple Winter also finished up for Santa Vegas. Extra shielding, extra HP, half item over with the Warden's Mail, and the Glacial as well picked up for him. So once he picks up that 3rd item, it's going to be quite hard for Rutledge to really find an avenue we can fully push him out into lane. I don't think Santa Vegas might be able to just straight up 1v1 him and push him out himself, but that's not the name of the game for Santa Vegas. He wants to live, and he just wants to be an annoyance to Rutledge.
On top of that, Dilly also just completed their 3rd item, having to complete the Mortal Reminder, getting a little bit of anti-heal there. But it does look like the Drake Pit is going to be the desired location for both of these teams. A lot of presence. Obviously, the plant is going to give a lot of vision here. Both teams know everyone is here. It's going to be a full 5-on-5 fight. Canatin is sitting on the flank. That could be massive if they catch out the right person, but Rutledge is kind of waiting for him there. Yeah, no, they're just going to go for a turn.
Mid lane cryo to stop that from happening. ADHD onto the flank, though, is going to be looking for something. Here's some Mega Inferno Bomb. Not going to be fighting one. ADHD about to fall down. Going to fall down to Melee Vayne. As Grotus doing so much damage, shredding so much. And there's the pull away from Rutledge. Going to fall down as well. And Grotus going to pick that one up. Dilly falling down. Double kill going over to Can of 10. Frozen forever. No one left alive. Going to be chased down. Snip, snip, says the Gwen. Smite not going to be enough. Not going to matter. Ace being picked up for Flannel, and they don't lose a single member themselves, as they were just clumped up so much. The ricochet from Melee Vayne, the snip snip from Ingrotus. You got the Zen just Beyblading it up throughout your entire team with his shadows, and Santa Vegas is like, you know what, Rutledge? You're the most troublesome person to kill. I'm just gonna steal you away and kidnap you real quick. Well done from Flannel, not losing a single member. Easy Baron push here. They're going to be wearing purple. That's a lot of tempo momentum for Flannel Esports as they're looking to end this out 2-0.
Yeah, 8k gold lead now in their pocket. They're going to get practically a full reset. Some of them were sitting practically on 1 extra item, so they're all going to get that reset and pick up some big components or that 3rd, and in some cases I think possibly even a 4th item here soon. But But yeah, no, that is huge for a Flannel. Like you said, the momentum is now firmly in their favor. ID are going to scramble and kind of struggle, I think, here to really get a foothold. We do see Rutledge immediately go back out onto that side lane. But man, in those 5v5s, I think you said it, there's so much damage in those team fights. They need to space out more. But it's also so difficult to deal with this Flannel composition when your biggest threat, which is Rutledge, just gets kidnapped away mid-fight and is just taken to the void. Just has no room to make an impact on the fight, and the rest of the team just doesn't have enough damage to deal with any of the big threats. It's a very rough situation for ID. They do have Frozen sitting on this, this Ziggs 0-6. They are starting to get a lot of items under their belt, but man, they are just so far behind, and they're really the only big 80 damage dealer, which is so rough for them.
We'll see how this ends up going out. Santa Vegas with 3 items. It is going to be 3.5 items for Rutledge. He's really doing no damage here, but it's really is a wet noodle fight, flipping over, switching positions, but as the Black Cleaver does start to do its work, shredding the resistance of Santa Vegas. Fear Beyond Death as well, also going to miss out, so Santa Vegas doesn't have to worry about that all too much, and there's the Atacon being started up, TP for both these top laners, but not really much that ID can do. There's another objective going over to them, that's a lot of extra damage and XP, and yep, just going to have to run away from that, as Ingrotus is up 3 levels over ADHD right now, and 4 levels for Can of 10, whew! That's a lot of gold in just stats alone.
Yeah, and like you said, the fact that Rutledge is on the side lane is great, and that does mean there's a lot of pressure there. But that also means Rutledge is on the side lane, so they can't do anything. The other 4 cannot take the other 4 for Flannel. It is just too much of a gap between them. They have to hand the Otacon over, which is another big boost to gold. That's another big boost to their damage. It also gives them extra XP gain, I believe, which means that towards the later part of this game, they're going to hit the higher levels a lot quicker. Obviously, not going to be too big of an impact, as it was taken pretty late, but it's going to definitely help out Melee Vane and Sunset Diner to really get into a very scary position, as they kind of have been taking a bit of a backseat. This kind of just has been the Ingrotus and Canatin show, but there's now the possibility of those bot laners to really start having an impact here.
Yeah, and Canatin Flame Horizoning Frozen once again into this game. 10 CS a minute practically. Frozen just can't catch a break at all. 0-6 and 3, 2.5 items. Does have the Seekers ready, so he has Stopwatch ready to go. He has the Stasis, and I'm just gonna jump right over. Frozen Forever has to be careful. There it is gonna use that Stasis right there. Canatin gonna flash for safety, as Zendrick and Dilly are on their way up. Still walking over, but they lost vision on him. They just got it right back, but Canatin knows something is up now. No flash, no ignite, no ultimate. This is going to be quite hard to outplay, as just going to try to shadow away, get his Eclipse shield. Going to be knocked up though, stunned once again, and there's a shutdown going over to Dilly. Rutledge though, going to have to be careful here. That is an Ingrotus, that is a Gwen. He is going to snip away your resistance. He doesn't care. He has the true damage. Fear Beyond Death is there. There's the Witch. Got to be careful. There it is. The execute got a little too overzealous, as Santa Vegas going to be in the middle of 4 is just being completely shredded down, as ADHD trying to lock up Melee Vane and Sunset Diner, and once again the curse of Flannel strikes again.
Why are we pushing it so aggressive? Why are we chasing them under the Nexus turrets? What are we doing? They're still in the lead, just like before. It's one of those cases of like, yeah, it doesn't throw the game, but you just made it so much easier for ID to get back into it. They just closed the gap from an 8k gold lead down to a 6. And now after that Drake take with the bounty on top of it, it's now down to just about a 3k, more like a 2. It's so unfortunate. Flannel are doing what they can, but they keep throwing at these big, intense moments. They're overstepping. They're being a little bit too overzealous. It's almost the exact opposite of what we saw in the last game, where, you know, they probably could have ended it, but they decided to play safe. But this time, They definitely couldn't have ended it, but they were pushing almost to end. They were playing so aggressively to try to get the advantage going into it. It's just super weird for Flannel. They're still in the lead though. They're still in a position to do so. They are now down on Drakes though, which is the big problem. ID are now at Soul Point. Obviously, is now a 4-minute timer, so it's going to be a couple of minutes until that soul is available. But notably, just about 20 seconds until the next Baron is up, and we see both teams start making their way over there. And Gritus is going to be spotted, but they're just cleaning up Scuttle and clearing out some wards.
I find it funny that Santa Vegas has not built a single MR item outside of the Ending Despair split of like 25 MR, 20 MR. Because Frozen is so far behind, he's not really a threat. He's not really shredding the base resistance either because he doesn't have any Blighting Jewel or a Void Staff type item in his inventory. He is too far behind for that. He hasn't even upgraded his boots either. He is so struggling for cash that he'd even want to use the 500 gold to get that pretty easy cheap boost. As at this point, Western Flannel is back up. Baron is also up as well. And that is definitely going to be the look for both of these teams, as Drake is still up 3 minutes away. That will be Soul for ID if they can pick it up, but you have to be careful. Frozen Forever flashing away was a little too afraid that he was going to be caught out there. So that is not a flash.
This is just taking
Super Mega Inferno Bomb as well. Can of 10 though. Has to be careful. It's going to be knocked up. There's the wish to try to keep him alive. As Ingotus to the backline, he's going to try to pick out Frozen Forever. He's going to fall down. Dilly, the next target, getting shredded by Ingotus with his needlework. He's sewing you funeral costumes because that's exactly where you're going to have to go. As that's an ace for Flannel. And I'm pretty sure, hopefully, they'll run it down. Yes, they do. There they go on the hunt with the minions to speed them up. To speed up the demise of ID into game number 2.
Not a big
as
wave,
they have finally able to find the end to this game. It looked a little shaky just because of the Flannel curse, where they find ways to kind of fumble a little bit where you think would be impossible. But still, no matter the case, Flannel's going to take it 2 games over ID in this best of 3 series. As, I mean, that's a statement right there, right? This is exactly what we were talking about. They were able to really show their strengths now. Flannel, you know, they've been kind of like, you know, I wouldn't say meme team is kind of rude to say, but a team that a lot of people were not expecting a whole lot of, especially after last split. And just, I feel like, I'm pretty sure the start wasn't the best either to this split as well, but they're showing up. They have fumbles that I feel like shouldn't happen, and really make you question if somebody's taking bribes on Flannel's roster. But
you want to hear something crazy?
What's up?
I think they've only lost twice, right? Are they? I think they're 0-2. Oh, or not 0-2, but I think they've only lost twice, and I think they've only lost the TD and final boss. I think they've only lost to the 2 best teams in the league.
Yeah,
they're 5-2. So the only 2 teams that they lost to are the undisputed tied one.
So Flannel right now could honestly, in a way, could be looking to maybe even kind of take it over High Alert right now. If you kind of go based off of that logic alone, that's Flannel. I mean, it's a glow up. It really is a glow up from last split, and they're finding things that worked. If they could just clean up those fumbles, man, they would be, I would say, like, really on par with TD, with Final Boss.
Oh,
right? And they just look so, when they look like strong and they're doing what they need to do, they look unstoppable. But it's when they just kind of turn off their monitors and walk in and be like, yeah, we can do whatever we want. That's the issues we kind of see a little bit shaky here, as ID really need to go back to the drawing board here, because we're starting to get to a point where, guys, this isn't funny anymore. They need to figure something out, because so much hope was thrown onto this team. right? So much onto Frozen, so much onto Rutledge. Rutledge did perform well that second game, right? Like there's a little bit of a stumble, I would say a little bit halfway through that landing phase, but in general, he was doing what he needed to do. Frozen though, getting absolutely walloped by Can of 10 into that mid lane. Flame Horizon in both of those games and just being an absolute monster. So Frozen Forever is really going to go back to the drawing board to find a way to kind of stem the bleeding when he gets in these situations. Otherwise, I don't know what ID's identity is going to be if he cannot perform, because just throwing and hoping that your top laner can carry when it may have worked for split one, but now with everybody kind of knowing what Rutledge is capable of and knowing what they can do to kind of make it so he isn't as much of a force to be reckoned with, you need to have someone else to step up, right? And that was really shown over to Frozen Forever when they kept him on to the split. So ID, they have, what is that, 2 more weeks to figure it out for the regular season to hope they can still make this playoff run, and hopefully something, nothing crazy goes with the standings so they can maybe try to run it back for another championship.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to see how this shakes up the entire table, because this is a crazy matchup for them. Does look like Final Boss won, so it does not. Wait, did TD lose? If TD lost, that means Flannel is now tied with TD. That would be crazy, because that they're 5-2, which means they're just 1 loss more than the first. That puts them tied, I think, with High Alert. And High Alert's been getting so much praise for how good they've been doing. I mean, High Alert and Flannel were bottom of the table last split, and now they are challenging for the top. The playoffs are going to be crazy. I think you're absolutely right. They desperately need to figure out what's going on, because now they are going negative for the second time this split. They were 1-2 by week 3. They bounced back, but now they're 3-4. And there is a real possibility that the previous champions don't even make it to playoffs, which would be an insane world to live in. But it's a real possibility here, going 3-4 after week 7. But yeah, no, the split is getting crazy here to close out. We only have 2 weeks left. I think DA did lose, so I think they're officially out of contention for playoff, unfortunately. But man, I think the last 3 spots in which they're fighting to get out of the or getting into the playoffs, it's going to get hectic here, especially because of how close it is. So yeah, it is going to get crazy. It's only going to get crazier. But I think that's all we have for you guys tonight. Thank you for joining us. It is an insane ride. But all right, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of all the possible. I feel like Doctor Strange, where I'm like seeing all the possibilities, and I'm like, where is the one where ID make it in? It's okay. Brain's frying. Thank you guys so much for watching. Of course, thank you, Sheep, for joining me on the desk. Best play-by-play in the business. Thank you, Giggle, for making the show run smoothly as always. To the TOs for making everything work behind the scenes. Thank you to the players for coming out and showing out as always. Special thanks, of course, to you guys, the viewers, because if you're not watching, what's the point? And yeah, you could find us at the Legends Twitch channel, same time, same place next week, 8 p.m. EST, the only time zone that matters. We'll see you next week.